That seemed like
$960 for the year.
That seems like a fish.
$968.
So, Oldfield doesn't have
Somebody's
it.
fishing for his money.
The computer company that I deal with that does some work here, they didn't feel that we needed it really. Port Jeff does have it,
Yeah.
but I don't think they even know that they had it. When I called the insurance guy in Port Jeff Village, he was like, let me go look. He's like, yeah, we do have that. Like, he didn't even know that they had it, so. So I think we've been fine so far.
Yeah.
Well, they were talking about the storage of social security numbers. Are those things we have in files on our computers? Are we
Only the
keeping-
employees.
Only the
Yes.
employees, right, so.
He hated us.
We don't take payments online, do we?
No.
No.
Then I don't think you
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay.
Just if I could say, the exposure generally, usually will happen if somebody is getting emails that are illegitimate emails, and that's how they come to an entry point. What is accessible from there is the question. If your email is separate from everything else, the exposure is down. However, people should be aware of not downloading emails they don't know where the source is. That's the biggest issue.
I mean, I don't have that problem with the village email. I don't know if you guys do.
No, I don't know any spam from them, from anybody. That's a pretty quiet account.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so just save this 960.
Put that right to the captation right there.
Number 10, National Grid doing air testing for the village. So, I can't tell you when, I'm gonna go back 15 years. You would know better than me, when we did the entire thing for the preserve and everything, one of the items that Local was supposed to pay for was air monitor testing from the stacks here. Nobody ever followed through to make sure it got done. Well, I don't know why, for some reason I had to read that like a year and a half ago, all the paperwork. I spoke to Joe. We never did it, so I contacted, it's been a year and a half that I've been on the phone with Lightbur and National Grid, and finally, they're gonna do the testing. So, it's $68,000 they're giving us to do the testing. And I'm gonna send everything over to Joe to look at, and then we're gonna set up a meeting with them. They're going to monitor 3 hours a day for 3 consistent months, and then send over the.
3 continuous hours or 3 separate,
3 hours a day for 3 months.
but not 3 continuous hours, right? They're gonna pick times during the day.
I think
Does
it
it
said I think it said continuous, but maybe not. No, throughout the day, you're right.
Okay,
So we'll see what happens.
that's great.
That'll be good. After the belching I've seen that stack do the last couple of days, it's been curious to see how that goes.
Well, they only allowed back then, whenever, it was only $50,000. But with inflation, they gave us $67,000, so. Okay, the next item, number 11, the drainage issues on Maple and New Street.
Do you know who you're gonna get to do the air monitoring?
I think they recommend the company.
Oh, do they?
Yeah,
Okay.
wait.
So we don't want to
senior.
use them then, right?
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna meet with them and we're
I'm
not
curious to see who
even
they
with them.
recommend.
I can tell you who they did. It was, TRC Environmental Corporation, you know who that is?
Sure. that's
Okay.
right,
So Mike and Rich went out, they looked at New Street, Chestnut, and Maple to start determining what kind of drains, if any, what they could do. Did I send this to you guys, the report? Okay, so what Rich is recommending is that he needs Nelson Pope and Boys to do an actual survey before he can do the next step. So I'm gonna ask that at the next the business meeting, we approve them to come in and do the survey. And then once they do that, he can keep going. And that way we can figure out exactly what we need and then price it out and maybe get it done by next spring, so. Okay.
Can I just ask something?
Sure.
Was this just informational?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was just the background, yeah. Okay, Joe? We had ethics policy.
Right, so I have, I reviewed the village ethics policy and several other parts of our code. But with regard to the village ethics policy, I think that it's outdated and it should be revised. There's a My recommendation is, I looked at several other villages that have ethics policies. I really didn't like, each of them was missing something. And wasn't really satisfied to the point where I could recommend one of theirs to you. But, so what I did was I found the Office of the New York State Comptroller has a model ethics policy for municipalities, and I think I'm gonna recommend that. It has to be modified slightly to make it for the village and also to make it for this village, Poquott. So I couldn't get it ready for you tonight, I'm sorry, but I'll have it in a day or so. And,
So we'll do it for the October meeting.
right, it would be my recommendation that we do a local law changing the ethics policy.
Oh, now we're up to 6.
Yes,
Do we have a local law or is that a policy?
it's a local law for our code. It's called ethics policy, but it's
ethics.
actually in our code.
So we have a code and then we have a policy, we have both.
So now they would have to dovetail, and that's the thing that I, look at these two different things and you often see that they contradict you.
Well, we could eliminate the policy if it's in the code, right?
That's what I'm saying.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Well, if we have two different guiding principles, the ethics code and ethics policy.
So the code prevails.
The code prevails, so once we update this, we should probably get rid of the
We
policy.
should probably, we should have a policy, but
Combine
it
it.
should be streamlined. Because the code will not be, the code will be much more in-depth than what we have now.
So you still feel there's a need for a policy?
I think you're required to also have a policy. I'll check on that.
Okay.
Lawsuits?
Okay, so we have
Updates?
a couple, do you want updates on that? So we have a couple lawsuits now. We had the first thing is in the village court, in August, we had a trial on a case. We're waiting for the judge's decision. And it was a fairly long trial, went till about 10 or 10:30 at night. And we're waiting for the judge's decision. We have two other lawsuits to bring to your attention. One is one which, they're both being represented by our insurance company, and as far as we know, covered by them. One is, as I understand it, a woman that fell into Port Jefferson Harbor, or slipped off her boat or something, and ended up in Port Jefferson Harbor. And
Fell off her paddleboard into Pirates Cove and opened her mouth when she went under.
yeah, she didn't like the quality of the water that she swallowed, so she's suing everybody that she could think of, including us.
And so, yeah, and SUNY and everybody else.
Yes, so I'm working with, we have to get, the village, the news on that is I have to get an affidavit from the village clerk. I was going over today with the attorney, and we have to sign it and get it back to them on Wednesday. I'll work with you on that.
I got it.
Okay,
We send it over.
yes, it just needs to be modified to make it for you. Another lawsuit, which is relatively new, is the village, with another municipality, got sued regarding our peddling and solicitation law. And the solicitation law that we have, I'm sorry, I don't want to characterize it, but it's my recommendation that we suspend enforcement of our no solicitation law, and also that we, at our next available meeting, that we rescind it. Basically, there's a series of cases, one of over commercial freedom of speech. So there's basically solicitation. It's the court's view now that solicitation is a protected form of speech. There's things that you can do to sort of rein it in. There's requirements that you can make. That'll be a fairly involved process for us to do. Work on it. I know what the requirements are that we can have, but in the meantime, I prefer that it's my recommendation that we just rescind the law that we have while we take a month or two and work on something else.
I think at this point, after they've already been through the village, it's gonna be it.
Yes.
I think we have time to work on it, so that won't be a problem.
Yeah. So we'll deal with that. That one, the initial court work was done by myself and somebody in the office that I work in who has done that type of litigation before, a commercial free speech litigation. And he was very helpful in the initial court appearance. But subsequent to that, the insurance company has taken over the defense. And we're working with them on the case. The, I think that's it as far as village,
Ashley Homes, or no?
pardon?
Ashley Homes, for the property?
Oh, yes,
For
so
that
that-
property?
Right, so Ashley Homes, there was a person that was in contract to buy there was a piece of property on Morton Manor Road that is, it's bounded on 3 sides by other properties. It does have some road frontage. In order to be a buildable lot, it's what's called a non-conforming or a substandard lot, because it was missing 2 criteria. It was missing road frontage and also lot width. And for that reason, even though it was separate, it was not a buildable lot. A few years ago, somebody purchased the rights to that property in the Suffolk County tax auction, and Ashley Holmes, or one of their principals, and came to the village for a building permit to build a single-family house. The permit was denied because the lot is substandard, and they made an application to the Zoning Board of Appeals. The Zoning Board of Appeals denied the variance application, and the Ashley Homes took the ZBA and the village to court. The court, I made a motion to dismiss, and the court dismissed the part of the case that was against the village, but did not dismiss the part of the case that's against the ZBA. So the case is still pending against the ZBA. The attorney that was handling it passed away about a month ago, and somebody else that's working in his office, he was an older person, but he passed away relatively suddenly. He was a prominent zoning attorney.